Kravitz. If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing podcast, you are missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening and welcome to episode 13 of Horsin Around. I'm your proud host, Howard Kravitz, right here on the HHH Racing Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us tonight as you have a bit of a tired and sleepy host and co-host after a very long... Paul, you awake? Paul? Oh, okay. He's a nice hat, though, by the way, Paul. We are here live on Monday night. Thank you very much for joining us. Few quick items. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Also hit that like button. Smash the like button as well. And then in the upper right-hand side of the screen, if you're on YouTube, of course, for all of this information, please hit that notification bell. That'll tell you when new content will pop up on this show. You can follow me on X right there at HKravitz, and scrolling at the bottom of the screen, follow me right there, the email hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. Of course, you can listen to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. We have Power Picks. Look below the video player for information on our Power Picks tip sheet. It's very profitable. It is very inexpensive. Please check it out. Again, I'm sure we're going to have plenty of new people watching the show either live or as a replay because, wow, what a weekend did we have meeting a lot of people. So again, if you're not familiar with our tip sheet, look below the video player in just click that show more button. We also have a fantastic website, hhhracingpodcast.com, and we are on Instagram as well, instagram.com/HHH Racing Podcast. Paul Halloran, before we bring in plenty of comments in the chat, I see your little subtitle, tired pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, it was a long weekend, and I kind of literally hit the ground running when I landed at 7:30 yesterday, and I was in a basketball arena at 11 for 4 games, starting at noon that ended at 8 p.m.
Wow.
So, yeah, but I got I have a good old-fashioned running on Dunkin' iced coffee here.
Oh, I thought you said you have a good old fashioned. That would be very appropriate. For
no.
No. Yeah, the drinks were flowing. Look, we got a lot to talk about. I got to be honest. I don't know if Kyle's coming on. We invited everyone. Kyle still might be on the plane. I know he was leaving today. I'm not sure.
He was, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not expecting. I guess he probably won't be on, but that's fine. You and I will talk about many things. The goal tonight here, ladies and gentlemen, is to speak about the tournament itself, of course, and get into a few. We're not going to deep dive into strategy and handicapping of the tournament necessarily. We're just going to talk about the results, and there were some interesting tidbits, though, to discuss. And then we got some pictures. We got some videos, Paul, I will be showing. I hear you might be in some of these. The rumor has it. And, we'll talk about, of course, all the people we met and the fantastic dinners and whatnot that we went to. Before we do that, Paul, let's hit the live comments here that we have in the chat. And again, if you'd like to comment, please go to YouTube. We got a lot of people watching right now on YouTube. We also have people watching on X as well. So if you're watching on X, welcome. But you might want to switch over to our YouTube channel so you can get involved in our live chat as well. But we've got first Dave Duncan, and I've got a list of people that I want to say hello to. Dave Duncan, Racing Downwind. Good evening, everyone. An amazing weekend at the NHC 2024. Had a wonderful time hanging out with myself, Paul, Kyle, Matt Miller, Brad Anderson, Scott Coles, and Drew Coatney. Cheers. That was our table. Paul, let's just full stop right there. Dave, was an absolute pleasure to be with all weekend. One hell of a handicapper, even a better guy, Paul. Our table was really special.
Yeah, and I sat next to Dave. Poor Dave. The good news for him was he got to sit at our table. The bad news, they didn't tell him he was going to be stuck next to me for about 12 hours a day. But just a gentleman, and we had a lot of fun. And you meet someone in person for the first time. What do? You handicap a group pick 6 with them, and we almost took it down together. So, but what a real great guy, and It was, the results at our table may not have been spectacular, although our good friend Brad Anderson gave it his usual tremendous try. But the chemistry was certainly top shelf.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And, interesting enough, we didn't really talk a lot about handicapping the races. And I think, that's sort of an unwritten, not unwritten rule, but it's just sort of mutual respect for each other. We don't need to tell each other how to handicap in general. Obviously, if we had questions or we threw some stuff at each other, but in general, we kept our own in terms of handicapping. And Paul, as we'll talk about the contest specifically in a minute, strangely enough, we did land on similar horses on several occasions in mandatories. One we'll show here in a little bit. So, but it was a lot of fun, and it was a really good time. Just a really very even keel group of people, and everyone was really respectful, and it was great. Nick Feldman's in the chat. Holy smokes, I've returned from my slump. What's up, Nick? Glad you joined the show. Been a long time. I've been able to hang in the chat. Can't wait to hear how it went for the whole HHH racing crew. Appreciate that. Katie is here, of course. Good evening. Brooks Lewis is here. NHC was fun. Met a lot of great horse players. Absolutely, Brooks. Mike Carmoli, welcome home, boys. What's up? Matt Miller cannot join us tonight. Family time. He's going to watch tomorrow. I want to jump in the chat and say, nice to see old friends and make new ones. Matt was, love you, buddy. Can't say enough good things. We know you're a little busy tonight and exhausted as well, but we'll get you on to talk a little bit about this at another time. Terry Frank, the Rookie of the Year. What a great event. Kudos to the NTRA. Me and I met Paul. So what was that experience like, Paul, to meet a Terry Frank?
Well, I'll tell you, we met a lot of people, Howard. You and I were talking, I think at dinner one night. I was really impressed by the number of people who approached you. That obviously we don't know the faces, but we knew all the names, and it really was a significant number because you're in the same spot for 9 hours a day, so there was ample opportunity. But it was really gratifying, and my takeaway was, we always want to get more viewers and more listeners and subscribe and smash and all that. But the folks we have are really loyal, and it's they were looking forward to seeing us. And I think, I think we took time for all of them. I know I spoke to many. You were kind of sending them over to me next once they. And it was great to see. It really was. I was truly. I don't know what I expected, but I was surprised. We got a kind of a sneak preview of it at Saratoga, but this was a really a great number of people who took the time to come over, and we really appreciate them.
No, we really appreciate it. I cannot thank everyone enough. I hope we were fair with our time. There were times that it's not always a great time to come over, depending on when the races are going on or mandatories or whatnot. But in general, everyone came over. Couldn't have been more complimentary, Paul, of the whole crew. Really, again, I've said this many times. I'm just blessed to have found you guys, or you found me, or whatever the hell it happened. But it was amazing. And I was there last year, and this year was 5 times as many people were coming up to say hello. It was really, and people that in the business too, not just fans of the show. I could go on and on about people that are in media. These are not small time people. Hi Howard, how you doing? It was really humbling experience, and it was really fantastic. Tom Espinosa's in the chat. Tired? You and Paul didn't get your full 8 hours in Vegas.
Yeah, I did. Certainly it did over the course of 2 nights, Tom, total.
If you added a cumulative, if you add it all up. Look who's here. Kyle Roscoe, host of Bed and Booze. And what's up, everyone? Sad to not be on the show tonight. Just landed at O'Hare in Chicago. Super happy to have met all of you in Vegas, as well as people I ran into again. See you again soon. Kyle was awesome, man. Thanks for putting your comments there in the chat. Kyle, from what I heard, had a few late nights, Paul. Rumor has it. But, hey, when you're that age, you got to let it roll for sure.
Howard, I hope that pullover you have on was from previous years, because I do not have one of those. That didn't come from this year, I hope.
Oh, no. I got. What do you think? I got special VIP no, it was from last year, Paul. It was from last year. We got a nice bag though, a nice little duffel, like mini duffel bag kind of thing. So that was
I like that. I love a good bag. Yeah. I'd rather Yeah, Kyle was great. Kyle and I see he was on my other side as Dave, and you mentioned landing on the same horses. It was kind of a running joke between him and me, because it seemed like we really never did talk before races on who we were going to play.
No, we
But
didn't.
then once once the selections are in, and especially on Saturday when we're all taking stabs, you're going to land, you're going to land on some of the same logical long shots. Although maybe not logical, maybe some were illogical, but invariably when Kyle and I asked each other who we ended up playing in the race, it was the same horse, and that's why both of us were done on Saturday.
Well, yeah, me too. Unfortunately, we'll get into all that, but I recovered Sunday morning. Had a real nice run Sunday morning. Let's see real quick, and then we'll get into the contest. Sylvain is here. Paulhus from Ontario. What a great job by Steve Vick, and boy, that's a great time for me to bring up Steve Vick, who had myself and Matt Miller on for Paul a solid almost 1 hour, and we were on Steve Vick live Sunday morning. People can go if you go to Steve Vick's website, on the internet. They've got archives. If you missed it, they have archives of all the recordings. And if you go to Sunday, I'm not sure. There were 3 sequences Sunday. I'm guessing it was the second one. It might have been the first one. I haven't even had a chance to listen to myself. Anyway, if you want to listen to myself and Matt Miller with Steve Vick going through some of the races right up to the final table, was amazing. Shout out to Steve Vick. Thank you very much for having us on. It was a real pleasure, and that's basically the Howard Stern of radio personality and horse racing. Paul, it doesn't get bigger than that. This real classy guy. That was amazing.
Steve is a great guy. I every once in a while I'll shoot Steve a text. He'll bring up something on the air with a question or something, and I'll shoot him a text with what I think is the answer. But obviously, I've met him at Saratoga several times and other points. And hey, 15 hours a week, folks. If we put in our time, but he is live for 15 hours a week talking nothing but horse racing. And I don't know about anyone else, but if I'm in my car between 9 and 12 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday, that's the only possibility of a show that I'm going to have on.
No, it's fantastic. We've got over 100 people right now watching live on YouTube and Accent. I'm sure we're going to have a lot of people. I guarantee you there are a lot of people who feel like me that probably like, you know what, maybe I don't want to watch a live. I'm probably in bed already as we film here at 8:15 live Eastern Standard Time. It was a long weekend for sure. One more person let's mention, Brad Anderson. What's up, Brad? Evening, boys. Just home myself, exhausted but full of great memories. Craps, anyone? He wants. I'll tell you what. There's some. I know Craps. There's not a lot of skill necessary. It's a lot of luck. But Brad and Drew Coatney had a hell of a run. I think it was it Saturday? It was Friday night. They had a real. I think Drew had like 20 rolls or something and won a few grand. They had one.
I think Brad held the dice for 28 rolls to be exact.
28 rolls. Wow. If you know.
And
Craps,
of course, I had left just before that because I make good decisions.
Robbie Courtney's here, just landed home from the NHC. All right, Paul, here's what we're going to do. Let's first get into the contest just a little bit. Without even bearing the lead, it was an unbelievable turn. Let's start with the winner first, Mike Gillum. Congratulations to Mike Gillum. We'd love to have Mike on the show. I had a chance to meet him. I know he exchanged pleasantries with Matt Miller. So no guarantees, anyone. We're going to try to get, I actually don't have his contact information. I don't want to be, he's overwhelmed, obviously. I talked to him afterwards, but hopefully we can get Mike Gillum, the NHC champion, on the show from Indianapolis. What a story this was. I don't know how much you read into details, Paul, of what happened over the weekend. Of course, Paul had to go home Saturday night, so he missed.
I was watching. I was watching the live stream from the basketball arena of the final table.
Oh wait, was that a foul? Oh wait, I'm watching something else, guys.
Well, I wasn't reffing. I was just watching.
Yeah, I know.
I was multitasking, Howard.
That is shocking. Mike was. I'll tell you what, his strategy is interesting, and we're not going to deep dive and etc. But let me just lay out some facts for you. A lot of this is care of Ron Flatter, who wrote an article in Horse Racing Nation. Some of the stuff I heard already. Paul, he was first of all, he bet all of his races. There were 16 Friday and 20 on Saturday. He bet all of his races in the morning. I don't know if you heard about this. And he did not change almost anything at all. He just went with his 36 picks and went for it, which is quite amazing, really. If there was a scratch, he went up and made a change. But to my knowledge, and again, we have to get clarification from Mike himself for some other people. But based on what's read here, it looks like he made very few changes. He did not bet a lot of double-digit horses. Of course, he doesn't know what they're going to be because he bet them before. I think he means morning lines, I'm guessing. He bet a few 8-1, 13-1s. A lot of his picks were like 3-1, 7-1. And this is not opinion. This is direct quote from Horse Racing Nation, written by Ron Flatter, came out today. He said he played a 4-5. He even played a 3-5, a 6-5. Tony Zhou right now is probably rolling his eyes because Tony Zhou is one of the most successful players in the world. More live money, to be honest. Believes you have to play a lot of long shots. I know Scott Coles, who was sitting with us, Paul, didn't necessarily feel that way. He was willing to play 5-2, 3-1. I think the bottom line is there's a lot of different ways to play this tournament. There's a ton of luck involved, no matter what you do. And just hats off to Mike Gillum, who obviously had a ton of winners and is the champion 2024, over $800,000 in earnings from Mike, Paul.
Yeah, I agree. Hats off to Mike, and I'll tell you, and I have some takeaways. I'm going to chalk it up to a learning experience as a first time there, and I can kind of see that. The one thing, if you're in a contention to make the cut on Saturday, I think you may want to have at least one or two bullets to. You don't want to go into the last two races on Saturday in 78th place and not have one. However, one of the takeaways I had, Howard, is, one of the things that's most difficult, we talked about it, is there's so many different options, right? It's 8 racetracks, full cards from all of them except 2, and, Turfway 1 through 6, and they only run 8, so that's like a full card almost. And Fairgrounds 1 through 6, they probably run 9. So there's a lot of different options. But my biggest takeaway was, I think next time I want to limit the amount of races I play from tracks I don't play. I screw around with Turfway at night because I'm a degenerate and it's on at night, and all the New York racing's over. But, to see, it's just kind of ironic, right? To have your contest life hinging on a synthetic race from Northern Kentucky. I think I'd rather take my chances in the 6th at Oaklawn 3 hours earlier, or the 4th at Fairgrounds, and I was kind of doing that to a degree. I had mapped out the type of races I wanted to play and from what racetracks. But, you talk about variables. Fairgrounds gets washed off the turf on Friday or Saturday. Saturday, I think. An hour. No, it was Friday. I think it was Friday. An hour before the first race, right? And I was playing 3 out of the first 5. So you do have to deal with that.
You don't want to use a horse that was meant for the turf that runs on the dirt. Oh wait, sorry about that, Paul. Sorry, that was a cheap shot. But no one knows what we're talking about except you and I.
Oh,
hey.
But no, so I see Mike's strategy on that. That might be to an extreme, but I think you want to be somewhere in the middle. But I think it's a better idea to put everything in first than it is to have to decide which Golden Gate race you want to play at the end of the day. So that's one of my takeaways.
I think for either one of us to, make any real critical comments would just be flat out ignorant and disrespectful. That being said, as a math guy, I don't recommend what he did, because you do need to adjust your picks towards the end. I mean, I don't know if Mike would have or he did, so I apologize if Mike hears this. I hope he does. I don't know exactly how it shook down, but based on what I'm reading, he pretty much stuck with what he had, including the last race of the entire contest, which is also, pretty interesting. But from a pure mathematical standpoint, I don't recommend people do that, because you do need to zig and zag depending on what the leaderboard says. But I agree, the toughest part about this isn't necessarily the handicapping. It's which races to play and when, I think is huge. So let me just talk about myself. I'm going to fall on my sword. Paul, I talked about this, last week, that I was going to sort of go for it this year, and I was going to change my strategy a bit. Last year, just for full disclosure, if people don't know, I was a rookie last year at the NHC and I finished 40th, and I was really damn proud of it. It was really a heck of a run. I played lower prices last year. This year, especially on day one, I don't think I played one horse lower than 3-1. I played a lot of 6-1 to 12-1 shots. They just didn't come in. I had 4 or 5 thirds place finishes on Friday, which is agonizing because when you're playing bigger prices, you can get $6 to place, when they come in second. Just didn't happen. Saturday, similar situation. I was a little better Saturday, but then last half of Saturday, I'm taking stabs on horses that, you turn to Kyle. Kyle was just handicapping, for fun, etc. He was trying to find long shots, and he just kept saying, "Boy, these horses are bad." And you turned to him and said, "That's why they're 20-1, Paul." Right? So when you're not used to trying to find 15 to 20-1s, which we're all trying to find it, but it can get frustrating because they just don't look good on paper. And the fact of the matter is, there were very few cap horses after Friday. Friday, there were some cap horses. Saturday, into Sunday, there just weren't a lot of cap horses, and it was hard for people to catch up from behind in general.
Yeah, and the advantage of playing those horses that you talked about, Howard, is you don't have to be right that many times, right? But you still got to be right. I mean, I had a horse on Saturday, when I was similar to you, I was in that, 10 to 15 to 1 mode. And I had a 12-1 horse. It was either Fairgrounds or Oakland. I think it was Fairgrounds, but no, I know it was Fairgrounds because the stretch is very long, just a little too long. 12-1, led every step of the way and gets caught at the wire. So I mean, that's a $28 difference in a contest like this, as you know, that's huge. I mean, as my own fate turned out, it wasn't going to make the difference, but it's the type of horse, I think, especially if you can get in, it doesn't hurt your confidence, moving forward, right? So yeah, not because my final total sucked, but I think the final total is very deceiving. Because I think mine was 50 or $60. What, I don't even know what it was, but I know that I played, I don't know how many horses on Saturday that I never would have played. I played strictly because of the odds, and you thought you had a shot. And on Saturday, you really do have to do that, Howard. My other big takeaway, other than making sure you play the races at the tracks you want, is Friday, I think, is critical. Now, Seth Morris, who led until the second to last race, had a terrible Friday, and he had an unbelievable. And where he was sitting in relation to us, Howard. I watched him all day,
Close.
and I'm like, who the hell is this guy? Every horse he's rooting for is over 10-1, and he's winning. And then I found out it was him, and he put up about $231 on Saturday, which is an insane total for the day. But my takeaway was I think Friday is really critical, and I think the next time, and hoping there'll be a next time, that I would be willing to, take not 3 to 5s, but I'd be willing to play more like Scott. It was interesting to watch Scott, a former champion, right? The way he played it, and I think what you want to do on Friday is put yourself in position to make the cut without having to take as many home run swings as we did on Saturday.
Yeah, I need to be a little less risky on Friday and just be happy taking some 5-2, 3-1s, and that's what I did Sunday. But before we get to, let me show a picture here. I've got a few things I just want to start bringing on the screen. This was myself and Matt Miller at the Steve Bick table as we were on with an hour, and that's a fun picture. And so that was awesome. Again, to be with Steve Bick, that was pretty cool. The only minor problem with it, and I wouldn't trade anything, but let me talk about Sunday morning real quick. So Sunday, I got off to a great day. I mean, I was on a roll. There were 626 people. Just to clarify, if people don't know, Sunday was called the Silver Sunday Contest. It was new this year. It was a consolation with respect that the money wasn't nearly as big, but everyone was playing in it. So there were 626 people playing, and I was in the top 30 most of the day. I had a really good morning. Long story short, I don't know if you know this, Paul. I was 24th going into the last race, and it paid to the top 25. So I was in 24th out of 626 on Sunday, and there were 17 races, so it wasn't just like a few races. And I wanted to try to make a little bump up, and I picked the 8-horse in the last race at San Anita, which was the last race of the main contest as well. Came in third, and I got bumped up to 27th. So I was out of the money, Paul. But I was trying to get in the top 5 because the top 5 earned an NHC berth to next year. So if my horse had won, obviously I couldn't go with the favorite. I went with an 8-1 shot. If that horse had won, I would have been qualified for the NHC next year. So I had a really good run.
You and Seth Morris played the 8.
Yes, a lot of people played the 8. We're going to get to that also in a little bit. But, so I had a very successful Sunday morning. I was very proud of that. The only problem was I was with Steve Bick and Matt, and I was like speed handicapping, and I'm not saying I would have won the whole Silver Sunday contest, but it was I was multitasking big time and really couldn't put in the effort I wanted to, but I would not trade it for the world. So because to be on with Steve and Matt was amazing. So let me show everyone the last race. We're just going to jump ahead. We could talk for 10 hours about the weekend, but I'm going to go ahead and make this bigger. Paul, this was, I think that's big enough for people to see. This was the totals going into the very last race. Now, Seth Morris, who finished second, did have a small lead over Mike Gillum with 2 races left, but Mike hit the penultimate race, and it's amazing, Paul. I mean, look at this. You're talking about $1.22. Thank you, Kentucky Breakage at Turfway, with the strange numbers there. But $1.22 is what separated Mike and Seth going into the last race, and that is with 36-17. 52 races, Paul. Can you imagine? We bet 52 races before this last race. So the leaderboard that we all see here is after 52 races, Paul, separated by $1.22. And Mike Gillum won with a chalk, sharp as attack, who was 8-5 in the race. Again, we could talk about tournament strategy and etc., because there's a lot to unpack there. But he decided to go with the favorite, basically, in essence, Paul, blocking nobody. So if he was wrong, there was a good chance he was going to lose. Apparently, he made that pick in the morning, and from what I understand, Paul, shockingly enough, did not change it at all. So it worked out well for him. The favorite won. Unbelievable. Flavian Pratt with a great ride in a turf sprint, by the way. Thank God I was not in that situation in a turf sprint for a lifetime score. But there you go. A lot of people, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, I believe, took an 8-1 shot. Paul, any thoughts on what you would have done if you were Mike or Seth in that situation? It was an 8-5, and then there was a 2-1 in that race. And then the rest of them were like 7-1 or higher. So it was only, I believe, an 8-horse field.
Well, I think even with the slim margin, I think it's easier to stick with your plan if you're Mike than anyone else, because hey, look, if a real cap horse comes in, then he could be in play for anyone. But remember, at that point, there's only 9 other people you're playing with, right?
Yes.
So it's not like you're playing against the room of 776 people like when we started. I think both Mike and Seth, from what I've read, Howard, kind of stuck to their plan. I mean, if I was watching the final table, and Seth, I know you were there, so as the leader going up into that second to last race, he did not deviate. I mean, he was taking, I think, 2 of the last 4 races he played. One was 8-1, one was 6-1. Even that last race. Now, if you're Seth, the only horse you don't want in the last race is the horse that Mike plays, because then you can't win, right? But he didn't. He didn't need an 8-1 shot necessarily. And anyone behind him, an 8-1 probably does it for the 3rd guy, maybe the 4th guy. But again, at that point, there's only 10 guys, so I'm not going to criticize. If Mike if that's the horse he really liked, do you want to lose the tournament betting a horse that you don't like, playing defensively? I just think I think in that spot at that time, I have no quibbles with what he did.
Yeah, there's a lot of game theory involved. I just want to clarify for everyone, that leaderboard I showed was not the final total.
Right.
That was going into the last race. The final total, I believe, was 320. Let's see, we got to find it here. $320.10. And again, for people not familiar with the NHC, you're betting $2 to win in place of mythical money. It is not real money. It's $2 mythical win place, and you finish with that total. I finished like 400 and something. I don't even know what I finished in the main competition. Again, I felt some redemption Sunday morning, finishing 27th out of 626. Just didn't quite get in the money there. But we got a lot more to show here, Paul, because there were some very exciting things happening. And shout out to the NTRA for showing this. And Paul, I'm going to have the sound up, so we don't want to talk over this, just so there's no issues. But there are two particular videos of us. The first one I'm going to show that I'm going to show from the NTRA. We just simply call the lean. It was pretty funny when we all saw this. Just for full context, we actually all had the same horse in this race, unbeknownst to us until the race was going on. This was, I believe, the first mandatory on Saturday, if I recall. The Oaklawn race, I think, was the first mandatory.
No, the lean?
No? Yeah, was that was an Oaklawn, I know.
The first mandatory on Saturday was wire.
Okay. Oh, that's the one we're going to see. That was the lean. Right? Oh, no.
No, okay. The lean was on Friday.
Oh, I want to show the wire first then. Let's show that one. This is a wire job. I'm going to show this again. Everyone and Paul, after it, we can talk about, where this came from here. But let me go ahead and bring this up. Didn't want to do that. Yep. Sorry. Hold on a second. I wanted to bring this up first. Let me make sure. Hold on. I'll stop sharing here. Got some technically. Got to make sure we got the sound on for this. So let me go here. We got sound there, Paul?
No. No sound.
No sound. Okay. All right. Let me get that fixed. Sorry about that. But we had a lot of fun. And Paul, I gotta tell you, you're a little more vocal than I knew, because when I was with you for the Grade 1 gamble, when you won the whole darn thing, you didn't say like a word the whole day. So I was a little surprised.
Yeah, that was an anomaly. Yes, I don't know what happened that day, Cal. It's a mysterious calm came over me that day that I've never been like before or since. But certainly got my money's worth of fun in Vegas.
All right, here we go. We should have sound now here. I'll go ahead and start it. I'll watch it. Here we go. Come on, there we go. There we go. Yeah, I'm pretty quiet, as people can see. I was somewhat quiet over the weekend because, frankly, I didn't have a lot of skin in the game. I wasn't really in the running necessarily, but I'm pretty quiet. You like to shout him home, Paul?
Yeah, that was Keith Asmussen riding for his dad, and he had a great ride. It was the first mandatory on Saturday, and you wanted to get off to a good start, especially when you have a terrible Friday, and kind of made a good move on the far turn and took the lead. And he was being approached by another horse, and I was hoping for the finish line, the finish wire, as it were, to come up, and it came up just in time. So.
From Noah, yeah, no, we had a lot of fun. We miss Noah, by the way, and Charlie and Patrick. We had a lot of people out there, but they'll be out there at some point for sure. Hopefully, as contestants. That was a lot of fun. Of course, we don't really know we're being filmed, and there's camera people around, but you're not really paying attention. So that was a lot of fun. Let's talk about the lean, Paul. Do you want to? Now, the funny thing here is the lean was actually to get a horse not in first, for second. We all had the 5 horse at Santa Anita, who didn't quite make the run we were hoping for. But again, every dollar matters. This was this when did this happen?
Friday.
This was
late Friday. And he was
Okay,
like
so this
8-1, I think, wasn't he? He was a decent price, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, decent price, and of course we're not looking at each other. We're all watching the race, and you'll notice something very interesting happened here at the end, Paul. So let's take a look at this. Let's see if I can do a little. But I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to make sure the sound is up. I apologize, everyone, for the. It's a little bit tricky on StreamYard to make sure we get the sound. But it was sort of when we saw this, Paul, we were laughing our butts off when we saw it come up on Twitter. So here is what we are now calling the lean, everyone. There. Let's watch that lean again. Just we all do it, right? There, should we slow motion? Yeah, there it is. We need to get that horse in for a second. One more time, everyone, for fun here, for effect. There we go. So we got the horse did finish second, Paul, and I think we got like $6 or something. Which again, every dollar matters.
And I can feel my fingers again, which is good.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I'm a clicker from way
you're
back.
a snapper too, huh? You got the snap, you got the lean, you got the.
Hey, you know what? If you can't, you got to have fun with it, right, Howard?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I mean, look, if people thought that was sort of aggressive or vocal, I mean, we saw all sorts of shit out there. We saw people dancing. We saw people, I like to have a lot of fun. I'm not some kind of old, grumpy old man who what I get into races big time. I usually wait till the stretch or whatever when it calls for it. But, if you watch like 1,000 races, sometimes you just feel like a horse is going to get second or you don't feel the need to. I did on Sunday, Paul, you missed it. I did Sunday have a pretty good shout because about third or fourth last race, I had a horse on the lead at 8-1 who got lost by about a half length to the 8-5 favorite. And if that 8-1 shot had won, I would have been literally in the top 5 or 10 of the Silver Sunday contest with a chance to win, $10,000-$15,000. So that was the biggest yell. You didn't see it, but anyway, it's just a lot of fun, Paul. Just the camaraderie is great. There's 1,000 people in the room,
right?
It's crazy.
Yeah. It's just funny to me because you were standing next to me for the Tarabi race, and I think I had 2 clicks. I think I only had 2 clicks, and that was for, as it turns out, 133. And this was to run second at 8-1. We were looking for $8 to place, but I guess it's just whatever strikes me at the moment.
That's what I'm saying, Paul. If people don't know what Paul's talking about, this is the Grade 1 gamble. I'm sitting next to Paul, which, by the way, is coming up in a few weeks. Shout out to Keelan and Jim Goodman. We're excited about that. But when Paul won, $100,000, I'm standing right next to him. And there's a horse that's desperate to hold on, and he's just like, he just went casual. I'm like, let's go get him home. It wasn't even my freaking contest. I was just so happy for him. So anyway, we got some more comments here. Mike Carmoli, you should spell it wire, just like that from Mike. Again, sorry everyone for the little audio issues. Jeff is here. Ooh. The lean has cost me $100,000 in the past. We get that. The lean's usually when you need the horse from behind, right, Paul? It's not the horse on the lead. So I guess it depends. Tom Espinoza, next merch store logo, the lean on the front, why on the back. We got some marketing people out there. I like it.
That's not bad. That's good.
Nick Feldman. For you younger viewers out there, the wire reminds me of the Nintendo version of the person who would move the control when they jumped on a game. Absolutely. Good call on that one, Nick. But listen, a few other things to talk about anyway. That was a tournament. It was amazing. We had our ups and downs. A few more downs this weekend than ups from a pure contest standpoint. Dinners, Paul. Boy, did we have a lot of fun outside of the contest. Talk very quickly on where we were Friday night, Saturday. You actually weren't. I'll talk about Saturday.
Thursday. We got it started Thursday with a smaller group, but anyone who's going to Vegas, the Nora's off Strip is one of the better Italian restaurants. We had just a quaint group of yourself and Matt and Brad Anderson, and you always know if you're with Brad Anderson or Drew Coatney, you're going to drink great wine because they're both what I call SITs, sommeliers in training. And They always pick a great wine, and yeah, and then I mean, Friday was a different ball game for me because it was a Friday in Lent, and I knew that there weren't going to be a lot of options for me on well, because I'm not normal. If I were normal, there were plenty of options, but I eat very abnormal. I'm very picky, but I'm all in for the camaraderie, and I was happy to have my noodles and rice and watch you devour that pulled pork right next
Oh,
to me.
Momofuku, I think it's pronounced, at the Cosmopolitan Hotel. If you've ever been to Momofuku, it's like Asian fusion. It was absolutely amazing. We went there last year. They have the best. I put it out on X. It's the best. I don't know. I think I'm not sure what kind of meat it actually is, but I did some kind of pork.
I
But
think it was pork. Yeah.
it is just, it's the best meat I've ever had. I had it. It was just unbelievable. And then we missed you, of course, Saturday night, Paul. But then we went to Nobu at Caesars, which is another great kind of Asian fusion, a little different vibe, different atmosphere, but it was absolutely unbelievable. So the dinners were just out of this world. I was selfishly hoping for a Sunday night dinner, which would have meant one of us crushed it like last year when I was able to finish 40th, and Matt and we changed our flight to a red eye because we had to stay later. But they ended the tournament nice and early, actually,
They
Paul.
did.
Run by 3:15, which is great. I hope they continue to do that, by the way. Now, there is a dinner and a banquet and awards dinner afterwards. So if you're in the top whatever, you probably want to stick around, although it's invited. Everyone's invited to that, I believe. But the whole tournament was done by 3:15 local, which was great.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. And, again, I had something to get back for. Otherwise, I didn't leave because I didn't make the cut, just to be clear. I have a lot of basketball responsibilities. And fortunately, our good friend Bob Mullins, who Howard,
Yeah.
he and another guy who worked with me held down the fort on Friday and Saturday. So my plan all along was if I didn't make the cut, leave on the red eye Saturday. And if I did, I probably would have left on the red eye Sunday. But I do agree with you, even following it from here. It was only 6 o'clock and, wrapped up. And I think that's a good idea because, it's an intense, whenever you get there, if you get there Thursday, it's an intense 4 days. If you get there Wednesday, it's an intense five. For me, it was an intense 3 days, but it's intense. And I think most of us have that gene that once it's over, okay, until we retire, like other people we know, how those of us who still have to get back to work, as I did today, and I think you did today. The instinct is, okay, get me the hell out of here and and let me get under my own binky.
Yeah, I apologize to my students today. I was not at my best. Not hungover or anything. Don't get me wrong. I was, I didn't sleep on the plane, Paul. I did work. I did 3 hours of work, of podcast work. Because you got some emails or you've read them now, and you timestamp them. You could tell it was from the plane. So I was doing school work and emails, and I'm absolutely exhausted. And after we put this show up on YouTube, I will be going to bed at about 8:30 local my time here. A few quick other things in the chat, then we'll wrap it up. From Racing Downwind, Dave Duncan. I was passing a lot of koozies out there and business cards. The problem is it wouldn't find he brought a big bottle of tequila and it wouldn't quite wrap it around that at Nobu, but that was a lot of fun. Nick Feldman said, I can't imagine what the bill was at Nobu. I've had some big numbers there for just my wife and I, it was not cheap, but listen, when you're in Rome, you gotta do what you gotta do. And Brad Anderson retorts, when with great friends, the wine has to match the friendship. No questions asked. Absolutely, Brad. From what I hear, Brad had a little more of the wine at Nobu on Saturday than the rest of us. There's an inside joke there. He knows because he's listening. But anyway, it was great. It was a lot of fun. I'm trying to see what else in the chat. Not really much else to mention at this time in the chat, but again, keep commenting in the chat. We'll span for a few more minutes here. Dave Racing That Win understands the joke. So let me just put it this way, Paul. We all of us sort of order a lot of our own drinks, own drinks, unbeknownst to Brad, who ended up basically drinking most of the bottle by himself. So anyway, that's the.
Had I stayed, Bradley, I would have done my part.
No, for sure. Wow, I'm trying to think what else. It was, again, we met so many people. I put it on an X. I just can't thank everyone enough for joining us. And then it's one of those things we talked about, Paul. I'd love to go to this event every year, whether I'm qualified or not. Although if I was not qualified, I probably would leave late Saturday night or Sunday morning. There's really no reason to stay Sunday if you're not in the tournament. In my mind, I guess it depends on how life is. But you know, when you say there's Sunday, it just makes for a long day, and then you got to work the next day, or some people have to work. Not Matt Miller, he doesn't have to work the next day, but we have to work the next day, and so but it's such a fun time, and it really is the horse racing convention, and it's
Right.
very different than the BCBC. The BCBC is a whole different vibe. It's a completely different contest based on the format being live money, but they're both great times, and hats off to the NTRA and all the people involved. Hawthorne Racecourse, I want to mention as well. We saw our friends at Hawthorne there. I believe you were on the air with Hawthorne,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, I went back and watched it today, as a matter of fact, when I needed a break. I was on with Kyle was on with Jim Miller and Emily Gullickson. It was great to meet Emily and meet Jim in person. I was on Friday, I think it was, in the middle portion. They had 3 segments, and it was great. It was great to see them, and I think you hit the nail on the head, Howard, with convention. It just brings a lot of different people together in the same room, and it has to be a pretty big room, and it's a pretty damn big,
Oh,
big room. And I think they did a great job with it. I thought they had plenty of staff around to troubleshoot whatever needed to be troubleshooted. They had, live teller, the machines in the room. They had live
yeah.
tellers in the room. If you wanted to bet sports, there was a sports betting window in the room, so you didn't have to leave the room to bet the basketball games. I would agree with you, and I would encourage there's a million different ways to qualify for this thing, and you can. There's a lot of free contests. There's a lot of low money feeders into bigger money contests, and look at we have high aspirations, right? How we went out there to win. I mean, you've had tremendous success in tournaments. I struck lightning at Keeneland last year, so regardless of how unlikely it was, no one can change that. But
Not unlikely.
the reality is, you're going up against 775 other people who have an idea what they're doing. Right. So,
Yeah.
you certainly go out there with aspirations, but, the realist in you says, hey, look, if I think making the cut, it appears to me, is pretty much, goal number 1 for everyone, not to mention it guarantees you 10 grand. So that's a good goal to have. But the atmosphere, you can see if people watch those videos, they might think, boy, that guy must have had a great weekend. No, the cameraman must have said, oh, let me follow around this raving idiot and we'll all get some entertainment out of it. But it was just that's the type of fun you're going to have. And a lot of times when I'm at the track, not the track, at the track or whatever, I'm working now, right? At Saratoga, I'm doing my work. And, the days like this where there was concentration was only on the betting, even though it wasn't betting in the way we normally bet. I can't recommend it enough.
It was great. We're gonna make a few final points and just a few promotions, and we'll get out of here. Matt Miller wanted to make a point. I think each of us was genuinely glad to have met everyone who introduced themselves. It's so nice for this family to grow like that. It isn't stopping. You see his little emoji there with the glasses. He says, "Sucks when an emoji actually looks like me." Let's put that up again. You know what? There is a striking resemblance there, Matt. I have to say. Anyway, no. It was a lot of fun. Met a lot of people. A few quick things I want to mention before we wrap it up, because again, we have a lot of people watching. Thank you very much. For those of you that are new to the show, because we met a lot of new people, passed a lot of business cards, whatever. We have shows Mondays, of course, Wednesdays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. This Wednesday, our bet and boozing guides. We have a bunch of 20-something young men who are fantastic handicappers, have been rocking it out. They're going to be covering the big card at Turfway with the Jeff Ruby Stakes. You got to say it like that. The Jeff Ruby Stakes. And also, guess who's running, Paul, on Saturday? Our boy Shards of Crowns.
I caught that the other day.
Yeah, we
And
heard
you
that
know what?
yesterday from Tony Rollo.
Well, Howard, that was actually breaking news. I said to Kyle, I said, "Hey, did you know Shads is running a turf fight next Saturday night?" He said, "No." I showed him the overnights, and he went right over to Tony to get an explanation. So
Yep.
I'll tell you one thing. We joke about Turfway. That's a card you want to play, folks.
Oh,
It's loaded with stakes races. There'll be big fields. Next Saturday night I am all in. And how you know why I like the thought of Turfway? Because I drive by it on the way from Cincinnati to Lexington.
there you
And
go.
are we all looking forward to getting back to the other
Oh,
Commonwealth?
oh my goodness. You better believe it in 4 weeks, man. It's gonna be awesome with the grade one
3.5.
gamble. 3.5. Okay. Shards is running is at a $200,000 3-year-old restricted stake going 6 furlongs. He's got the outside post. The Bet and Boozing Boys will talk about that race on Wednesday. And then Thursday, picks and podiums, myself, Pete and Paul, our flagship show. We're going to be covering a huge day of racing, of course, the fairgrounds. It's their signature day, Louisiana Derby. All these are 100-point preps, of course, as is the Jeff Ruby Stakes. And I also want to give a final shout out to Hawthorne Racecourse. And I'm going to send out an email, Paul. They are sponsoring us once again. This on a whole other level. We're mutually sort of sponsoring each other. We're going to have a lot of Hawthorne Racecourse coverage. They do a great job. They are growing with their purses, with their field sizes. They have the Illinois Derby making its return, which is the winner gets an automatic bid into the Preakness. That's on April 21st. Hawthorne Racecourse, please promote them. They've got lower. Actually, I got information about them. Their meet starts this weekend. We're going to talk about, I believe it's going to be Jim Miller's coming on with our usual Thursday segment. So again, Thursday, we're going to have an hour of fairgrounds convo, and then Jim Miller, I believe, will be here from Hawthorne Racecourse. They've got more turf races. They've a very low takeout going on. They've got, it's a great place to play contests. Paul, you got to fly in Chicago. Play one
I told
of these
Jim.
contests.
Yeah,
really
I told Jim the other day I'm going to make it out for one of them. Absolutely.
Yeah. So they're very player friendly. Please check out Hawthorne Racecourse. And last thing I'll say, and it's not official, but the HHH Racing podcast will, I believe, if it all works out, Paul, be a part of their simulcast feed. I plan on being live, possibly at some OTBs, and they're going to be cutting to me with my opinions. Again, this is live during their races, especially during the summer when things really heat up. No pun intended. Matt Miller and I and Kyle, we're doing a pool party, which is a live OTB show on Bluegrass Day, actually. So anyway, shout out to Hawthorne Racecourse. We're going to be highly involved with them here in the Chicago area. Paul, any final thoughts? Any final goodbyes you want to say, or hellos to anyone that you saw last weekend at your very first NHC?
No, I just want to reiterate. I'll go back to our friend Dave Duncan, whose name I did not even know until this weekend. I knew him as Racing Downwind. In fact, when I met him, I didn't know whether to call him Dave or Racing or Mr. Wind. Yeah, it's and I'll take it a step further. I mean, you and I met through your podcast only, I think it's 3 years ago now, and I mean, God, you can't get rid of me now. Every time you come east to a racetrack, I'm there. So you're stuck with me. And, Matt Miller, who, I'm thinking of, bringing all of us together at racetracks, the barbecue we had in Saratoga, the restaurants in Saratoga, the restaurants at Santa Anita. So I just think horse players are a special breed. And we know, because of the folks who listen to us, and we talked about those who come up, and we met some characters out there. We could have Matt Miller talk about his new friend from, I think it was Brooklyn or Long Island.
Both of us. Oh yeah, we met him.
The Giacomo guy. That's one of the great stories of all time. We should have him on, Howard, just to tell that story. That was unbelievable.
We need to get him on the airways. We'll get into that.
But yeah, just the people you meet. Really, that's what it's about. All honestly, the money comes and goes. And I've said that to people. When my friends who are not horse racing friends, when I got lucky at Keeneland last year, and they were bowled over by the amount of money. My feeling is the money comes and goes. You're not going to spend it all in one day, but eventually it's going to be spent. So what you're left with is the people you meet along the way and the times you have with them. And that's why, if you watch those videos of me, how no one would know that I finished with like a $58 bankroll or 70, whatever the hell it was, right? I'm going to have a good time with good friends, so regardless of the result.
This group is so special. I'm almost getting emotional here. You guys are like family to me. It's awesome.
Oh, you are my uncle.
That's true. That's true. These trips just keep getting better and better, Paul. It's amazing. The next time, a lot of us are going to be at Keeneland on the second weekend of April. So if anyone is listening from Kentucky, you're going to be at Keeneland. Most of our crew will be out there. April, I think it's April 12th through the 14th. We will be at Keeneland for the Grade 1 Gamble.
And Paul will be at Keeneland starting that Wednesday, Howard.
Ooh.
So if anyone's in town early, come along.
Speaking of which, Paul, stay backstage when the show's over. I gotta talk to you for just a minute. Frank, just coincidentally, just about that. For my good friend and co-host Paul Hale, and this has been your host Howard Kravitz, episode 13 of Horsin Around. We just had an incredible time, and thank you to everyone out there and the 2024 NHC champ, an unbelievable run, Jim Gilman. Take care, everyone. Crush your bets. We'll see you Wednesday and Thursday night. Take care. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.